in January, the whole world witnessed a historic contest for House Speaker. I rise today to serve notice. Mr. Speaker, you are out of compliance with the agreement that allowed you to assume this role. The path forward for the House of Representatives is to either bring you into immediate total compliance or remove you pursuant to a motion to vacate the chair. We have had no vote on term limits or on balanced budgets as the agreement demanded and required. There's been no full release of the January 6 tapes as you promised. There has been insufficient accountability for the Biden crime family. And instead of cutting spending to raise the debt limit, you relied on budgetary gimmicks and rescissions so that you ultimately ended up serving as the valet to underwrite Biden's debt and advance his spending agenda. Mr. Speaker, you boasted in January that we would use the power of the subpoena and the power of the purse. But here we are, 8 months later, and we haven't even sent the first subpoena to Hunter Biden. That's how you know that the rushed and somewhat rattled performance you just saw from the Speaker isn't real. At this point, during Democrat control over the House of Representatives, they had already brought in Don Jr. 3 times. And we haven't even sent the first subpoena to Hunter Biden. Power of the subpoena and power of the purse. Only thing the 118th Congress is known for at this point is electing Kevin McCarthy Speaker and underwriting Biden's debt. And unfortunately, there's only one of those things we can remediate at this time. Power of the purse.
Yeah, I do want to talk about the power of the purse. And thanks for joining. Yo, Toy Mafia in first. Thanks for stopping by. For me, this is an important one. We are at the crossroads that many of us saw coming going into last year or even before that, is when what the Democrats and corporate Republicans are doing, they stole an election. They lock up innocent, law-abiding citizens. There's numerous things that we can point to that we can now look at and see that MAGA wants revenge. And this is the part where I get off the bus. I can't take this journey with you. And that's the concern I have here. AOC replied to Matt Gaetz. I'm going to be kind of jumping around here, so I will get to it, but I'm going to need a little bit of time to unpack my take here. AOC replied or quote tweeted this Matt Gaetz clip that I started the show with. And AOC tweets or X posts on X. So let me get this straight. Republicans are threatening to remove their own speaker, impeach the president, and shut down the government on September 30th, disrupting everyday people's paychecks and general public operations. For what? I don't think they even know. Chaos vibes. My first response to that post was, AOC wouldn't know because she was under the boot of Nancy Pelosi and they called her Mama Bear. So she thinks probably that that's how things are supposed to work, is that you bow down to the speaker. But looking at it, she has a point to me. It's unfocused. I'm actually have criticism for Matt Gaetz. This is unfocused. This is poor political chess. I don't understand the move. Not going against McCarthy, but what are you going against McCarthy for? You're laying out too many things. I know those were the concessions, but you're confusing people. But I'm not even going to get to that yet. Underneath the AOC quote, we saw DC Drano, his real name, Rogan O'Hanley, I believe. Nothing against DC Drano. Don't have any beef with him. He's great. He's on War Room all the time. Passionate, patriot. But we are going to have, hopefully, healthy tension. I don't want to hear this. DC Drano posts, it's simple. We want payback, and we're going to get it. Did you think that was an own, sir? That's a worse reply than AOC. And that's what, I wanted to start with that because that's what prompted the topic for this live today. Metalopoly has entered the building. Metalopoly says, I don't think this will go anywhere. They don't have enough votes for it. I will get to that later. But hey, at least Mitt Romney isn't running for re-election. Yeah, I didn't even have that topic prepped, but that is true. People are reading the tea leaves. Mitt Romney is not a stupid guy, and he knows that his time is up. And he can have more power going to Fox News or where I don't know where he's going to go, but he can have more power going other places. Actually, I haven't heard much of Adam Kinzinger. I thought he was going to get a gig. Did he get a gig somewhere? I haven't even heard from him since he left. Metalopoly goes at AOC, says she needs to STFU. If this was Dems doing this to Trump, she'd be all in. Oh, wait. The Dems did do this to Trump, and guess what? AOC was all in. Metalopoly on fire early, as usual. I'm going to take this back a little bit just to retrospectively talk about this is why I was concerned about MAGA not pushing Donald Trump to go to the debates. And I originally thought that the reason why, and I still think this plays a role, why MAGA, and I'm just using the term loosely, those who really, it encompasses anyone who isn't triggered by that word. If you're not triggered by the term MAGA, you probably are MAGA. And they didn't push him to do the debate. Donald Trump stuck his little toe in the water, doing little Truth Social stuff, and be like, maybe I shouldn't go to the debate. He did that from months ago. And what he was doing was testing to see, are you guys going to let me get away? I know this is not good, but are you guys going to let me get away with it? And of course, MAGA did. He doesn't have to go to any debates. MAGA will support him. And it's not a cult thing. I thought it was a scared thing. We see the craziness that's going on in our world right now, and I don't think fear is not good. Let's get that straight. You do not want to fall victim to fear. And we know that from the Star Wars movies.
What does that got to do with anything?
Everything. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
And it's a movie, but it's true. I think it's very true. And I think that it wasn't just fear. I think it was partly fear of everything crushing down, and we've got to get revenge, retribution, I'm going to talk about later. Those are two different terms. But I think it was the revenge part of it that says we don't care about him going on the stage. We want to use him to get revenge. It was a brilliant, whoever wrote that, to use that word, retribution. Brilliant, brilliant writing. Somebody tell me if you know who wrote that. Didn't Stephen Miller used to write some of his stuff? He had, remember Trump's inauguration speech? The media tried to paint it as dark. The American Carnage speech, I believe is what they called. Nick Fuentes he used to, I haven't seen his live in a minute, but he used to use parts of that speech in his intro. Amazing speech. When you go back and look at it, it's unbelievable. It's really a really good speech. But I want to make sure that I get my two-piece in as far as the direction of MAGA. Can't go to a dark place. MAGA is God, family, country. MAGA is not revenge. And you can say retribution, but let's just go to revenge right now. Let's make it clear, because DC Drano used the word payback. And I'm going to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. And when I talk about the difference between revenge and retribution, I had to look that up because I'm like, these are different terms. I'm going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt and say that they mean retribution. But let me talk about revenge for a second. Revenge is not a principle. Not a principle of MAGA. God doesn't fit anywhere with God, family, country. It's not a virtue that I want to signal. And I think it's important. The distinction is very important between what is the actual mantra of MAGA? I think it's very important. Let's take a look at the Bible. And don't pretend to be an expert in the Bible, but I just did research on, and some of these quotes are very well known, but I went into just doing this is the new Google now for me. What does the Bible say about payback? Give me quotes. And the one I liked here is Romans 12:19 advises, I liked all of them, but do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, it is mine to avenge. I will repay, says the Lord. It is not up to you to go for revenge. Proverbs 24:29, do not say, I'll do to them as they have done to me. I'll pay them back for what they did. Hebrews 10:13, for we know the one who said, I will take revenge, I will pay them back. He also said, the Lord will judge his own people. So they all have the same themes to them. And that doesn't fit anywhere with MAGA. So I think that needs to be clear. I think whoever the leaders are in the MAGA movement need to be clear on that. Trump had the infamous line, let's go to retribution here. Obviously, a lot of people know this line. It's one of the famous lines. This will probably go down in history, noted as an important moment.
We don't have free press. We don't have free anything. In 2016, I declared, I am your voice. Today I add, I am your warrior. I am your justice. And for those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. I am your retribution. Not gonna let this go. We don't have free press. We don't have
So that's
free
the
anything.
famous line. I want to hear it one more time. It's just, it's really good to hear. I mean, it's a good line. I'm going to disagree with it, but it's a good line.
Who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. I am your retribution. Not gonna let this go.
That word was chosen very carefully. And when you look at retribution, I said, hey, what's the difference? And many of you probably already knew. I'm not good with, I got to look all this stuff up. I don't have it in my head. So let me get the clarity on it. What's retribution? And I agree with this. What's up, Jairus? Thanks for stopping by. What's retribution? So here's revenge. The definition of revenge is a personal, emotional response. You see, that's the Star Wars clip, basically. They talked about fear, but it's very similar. Fear can cause revenge or cause these type of emotions. And when you get emotional, I typically think you leftist in a negative connotation. Personal, emotional, perceived wrong or harm. It is driven by a desire to inflict harm or suffering on the person who caused the initial harm. And if that's what you want to do, I won't take that journey with you, but I'm not going to be blaming you. I just don't think it's the right thing to do. Often without consideration for proportionality or justice. So this is not the term you want to use. I don't think there's many people in the chat. Maybe there are. Toy Mafia got some pieces in the chat and all that. I don't think that's you. I think you want self-defense. Revenge is often impulsive. That's what I'm seeing. So the actions I'm seeing to allow Trump to not go on the stage, and really it's to control Trump, to make sure he knows we control you. You're not the other way around, but also to make Trump be the best he can be. You don't sharpen your knives if you don't go into the heat. And I know it's uncomfortable. Donald Trump has famously not liked debates. But sometimes you don't feel like working out. Sometimes you don't feel like eating right. But maybe you should. And maybe it makes you better and you didn't realize it. Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. So many stories of him after the game, after they won a game, last second shot. I think this was Iman Shumpert told the story about he went to the gym early. Kobe was already there shooting shots. Hit a game-winning shot. He was going out the gym. Who's there shooting jumpers left? Kobe Bryant. And pushing him to get better. Donald Trump's not getting better because he's not getting pushed to get better. And why is he not getting pushed to get better? Because you're too focused on revenge. Revenge is impulsive. Basically, it doesn't make sense. It can escalate conflicts as it's based on the principle of an eye for an eye. It is more about satisfying one's own feelings and emotions rather than seeking a balanced or just outcome. That's why Donald Trump didn't use the word revenge. He used the word retribution, which is much better, but I still have a problem with it here in a different way. Retribution, on the other hand, is a more formalized and considered response to wrongdoing. It is based on the principle of justice and seeks to impose a penalty that is proportionate. So not something that's disproportionate, that is proportionate to the offense. Retribution is not driven by personal emotions, but by a desire to restore balance and order. In legal systems, retribution is often the rationale behind punitive measures, ensuring that the punishment fits the crime. So the problem I am going to go forward, even though people have used the word payback and revenge, assuming the best that you actually mean retribution. The problem I have with retribution is it means you're going to play within a system that is broken and is done. America's done. And the sooner we realize that, the better. It's over. The experiment is over. The spirit will never go. But that title of United States, America, that's passé. It's done. And there ain't no putting it back. You can't dump the toothpaste out the tube and put it back. You just can't do it. And we have to understand retribution means that you have to look at the definition for retribution. It means how do you seek justice back in a system that doesn't desire justice? Owen Schroyer sentenced, I believe, 60 days for legal speech, in part. And that's just one example. There's example after example after example. I can't get judged fairly in Washington, D.C. based on my principles. It's a different country. I can't go to San Francisco, California. My wife might say, hey, let's go away. We haven't been to San Francisco since 2014. She's been a couple times. And if she were to say, let's go to San Francisco, I'd be like, no, I can't. I'm not going. Let's go to New York. I was in New York right before my youngest was born, 2016. Or right after he was born. Around there. Unless there's something really emergency, I ain't going back. It's a different country that I don't respect. I don't want retribution. I'll tell you you know what I want, but I'll tell you what I want as we continue on. So let's go back to DC Drano. DC Drano says he wants payback. My response to quote tweet of DC Drano was, X has changed the quote tweets, it looks like. I don't know what's going on. I couldn't find it through his, so maybe I'm missing something. But he says, I said, you want payback, I want liberty. We are not the same. That's not beef, that's to create a distinction. Not that he would care, but it's the larger point. It's not about him. MAGA and I are separating. If you want retribution, we have maybe walked a journey together for a little bit. If you want revenge, there's absolutely, we go in the opposite ways. If you want retribution, either way, I respect either one. But if you want revenge, no, I'm out. If you want retribution, no, don't hate you, but I'm out. It's not a good idea. You can't get retribution without getting back control. How do you get back control? So I had people reply. Somebody said, MC Not Cool, who's great on X, replied and said, why not both? Why not payback and liberty? That doesn't work. They're incompatible. Liberty is the concept of liberty for me is peace, opportunity of prosperity, not the guarantee of prosperity. It's peace, prosperity, and decentralization. Payback is the opposite of peace. If you want retribution in this system, you're doing the opposite of centralization. If you want retribution in this system, you are looking to take the opportunity of prosperity back from somebody else. Whether it's just or not, it still doesn't get us where we need to go. And revenge is definitely not, payback is definitely not peace. It's not self-defense. Our country was started on these principles peacefully. Founding fathers did not want beef with Great Britain. They wanted liberty. We're over here now. You're not giving us representation with the taxation. We've had these tit for tats from the Boston Tea Party to the Intolerable Act to anything else, all the other skirmishes and issues. We've had enough. We now declare our independence. That's not an act of aggression. They were not trying to get boats to go over to, they couldn't. I mean, Great Britain had the best army, well, navy, but they were beasts. But it doesn't matter. This still was not an act of aggression. They were not trying to get boats to go over there to throw hands. The argument was our cultures have divided, and we get our rights from God, not you. We're out. And if you let us out, we're peace, no beef. If you come and try to bring us back in, we will defend ourselves. That is the take. The take was not payback. Payback is not a founding principle of this country, never has, and for me, never will. And I read that quote from the Bible. Somebody said, I hate to break it to you, there is no immediate peace between the major spheres of influence right now. It's not happening. Payback is an act of defense. No, it's not. Payback is not an act of defense. I don't need payback to say I'm separating. You do you, I'm out. That's not payback. I have God-given right to say that. You know there's asshats on and off, internet who say you don't have the right to secede. What? You don't have the right to secede. Do tell. From who? Who do I need to ask permission to leave the relationship? What are you talking about? My rights are from God, not you. I'm willing to negotiate it. But that is incorrect, sir. I'm not against MAGA, I'm pro-MAGA. So when I say Biden shouldn't be impeached, I'm not saying that because there isn't evidence. This isn't an MSNBC talking point, which it's fine. If the talking point's accurate, I will parrot the talking point, but that's a ridiculous one. So I'm not making the argument not to impeach Biden because there's no evidence to impeach him. That's not the take. We'll get to that. The world is not sane right now. The world is so crazy that Candace Owens has to go on the whatever podcast, which was unbelievable. I'm trying to see which one was better, Mary or Candace. That's a debate worth having on the whatever podcast. But the world is so crazy right now that Candace Owens has to go on the whatever podcast to explain to a young lady what a woman is.
I think when it comes to day-to-day use of words, they have to map onto our reality somewhat. And the truth is, as I didn't check anyone's biology or chromosomes before coming here, you can say it's an act, but the truth is it's an act that everybody plays into. Everybody looks at how a person looks like and says, oh, they're a woman or male based off of that. And you can say, oh, that person is putting on a disguise. That doesn't change their real gender or anything. But everybody acts that way. So to me, it's like, no, like the word that maps, or the definition that maps most onto reality, onto our day-to-day usage, is appearance-based.
If you grow an afro and wear a wig and put, you know, a lot of black makeup on, you're not a black woman, you know. So your appearance doesn't actually mean anything. You're not black. And the same way that I'm not white. So how we, if we could trick someone, you might be able to trick me. I think Rachel Dolezal did a really good job tricking people into believing that she was black for a long time by darkening her skin, getting super tan, and wearing fake wigs, but she wasn't actually a black woman. So how you feel on the inside and how you present, you might be able to trick people, but that makes you a liar, not a woman.
I think when it comes to day-to-day use of
when you bring in a based woman on that podcast, it's a culture shock. And it just makes them look even, Candace is great, Mary is great, it just makes them, you just hold them in such high esteem to be able to, that's not easy. Unless somebody goes out there and tries to do something so clean as she is on the fly, that is really, and what Mary does too, that is not easy. They have convictions, they have principles, and they are ready at the fly to talk about them. Candace Owens is a national treasure. Over on Rumble, Cyan, with great comments, says, notice the Republicans like to introduce bills in the House to please their voters back home, knowing it has a snowball's chance in hell of passing. Cyan calls them the SOP, Standard Operating Procedure. And a great Bible quote from Cyan says, I judge not, I condemn not, I leave such to God. Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 to 5. Thank you, Cyan. Great friend of show. I'm going to keep on talking about how crazy the world is, though, and I will tie it back into why I'm not for impeachment. The world is so crazy that Jen Psaki, I can't believe this. Did she compare a fetus to a lump of coal? I don't know. You tell me.
Because they are seeking a rebrand. Pro-life now becomes, in the words of Indiana Senator Todd Young, pro-baby. Pro-baby. Okay. I hate to break it to you, but if you call broccoli candy, it's still just broccoli. If you tie a really nice bow around a lump of coal, it is still coal under there. Because they are seeking a rebrand. Pro-life now becomes, in the words of Indiana Senator Todd Young, pro-baby. Pro-baby. Okay. I hate to break it to you, but if you call broccoli candy, it's still just broccoli.
These are the same people that say, if a man with a beard puts on a dress, you must call them a woman. And this is how quick they flip.
Pro-life now becomes, in the words of Indiana Senator Todd Young, pro-baby. Pro-baby. Okay. I hate to break it to you, but if you call broccoli candy, it's still just broccoli.
That quickly they flip.
If you tie a really nice bow around a lump of coal, it is still coal under there.
So maybe she didn't directly compare a fetus to a lump of coal, but probably not the best from a former press secretary of the United States. Maybe a little bit better communication would be in order, I would say. Things are so crazy that allegedly they're revealing bodies of aliens in Mexico. What the hell is going on?
Y que después de desaparecer no hay una evolución posterior.
What the hell? What is this? Allegedly, it's E.T. We found him. It looks just like E.T. I had a toy. I don't know what the hell they're saying, so I don't know why I have the sound up. I had an E.T. toy back in the day that looked just like that, and if you are of my age group, you probably know which one. It was the E.T. toy that you pulled the string and you let it go, and I remember it would say different phrases like E.T. go home, all this corny stuff. It is a great movie, don't get me wrong, but E.T. would say Elliot, and my brothers and I, if they saw this, they would know exactly what I'm going to bring up. He would be like, Elliot. And it sounded like he said idiot. So he would take the E.T. toy and pull the string and just, stupid kids, and pull it until he was about to say Elliot and then put it on. I have two younger brothers. We would put it on each other like he was calling you an idiot. So we got alien bodies revealed by Mexico, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the alien stuff. Something's going on. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to believe, what not to believe. How about this? The CIA is allegedly, well, let me read the headline because this is bananas. This is through Michael Schellenberger. First, they said it was a debunked conspiracy theory. That almost is like a confirmation nowadays. Because if they don't have to say it's a debunked conspiracy theory, then it's probably just nothing. Then they said COVID lab leak was a minority view. Now it appears that the FBI, DOE, and CIA all believe it came from a lab, and that CIA analysts were paid to reverse their assessment. U.S. intel is dangerously corrupted. That is from Michael Schellenberger. The headline by Michael Schellenberger and Alex Gutentag. I'm not familiar with Alex's work, so apologize if I got the last name wrong. But it says U.S. intelligence dangerously compromised, warn CIA and FBI whistleblowers. The new CIA whistleblower alleges that the agency used monetary incentives, that sounds like a bribe, to undermine search for COVID origins, echoing allegations by FBI whistleblowers last May. And that story's like nobody knows. Nobody cares about that one. I was debating with people about, do people care about COVID? Jimmy Dore, I believe, was in a discussion with the homie Nico House, who's great. And Jimmy Dore said something to the effect, I'm paraphrasing, that Dr. Cornel West is underestimating how important people view, because Dr. Cornel West I don't know what's going on with his campaign. I'm not going to get too much into the leftist side. It's just, I don't know who he's hiring, what he's doing. That's why Jimmy went so hard at him, because it's just baffling. But his take on COVID's terrible, and Jimmy's like, I agree with Jimmy on COVID for sure, but Jimmy's like, people care about COVID. And I'm like, Jimmy, even though I agree with you on COVID, the midterms confirm people don't care about COVID. That's how crazy the times are right now. They forced you to put a muzzle on your face and you don't really care. Not you in the chat, but you know what I mean. You don't really care. You voted, your voting didn't. Maybe DeSantis got, extra support because of it, but that was Florida. Outside of that, there was no, the big thing was Roe v. Wade. There was no pattern that you could see in voting that people valued COVID as a number one or a number two or a number three, or even factored it at all in their decision. Jimmy's right on COVID, but he's wrong. People don't care. And I think part of it is that they just blame Republicans and Democrats the same, and which is fine, but they don't parse out MAGA. We have to be honest. They have effectively tainted the populist movement because we don't, MAGA speech is suppressed. Factually is suppressed. And we don't have the right orator at this point to cut through. MAGA has been demonized effectively. Otherwise, it wouldn't be lumped in with the COVID stuff in a negative way. And then we'll end on as far as not the live, but we'll end on this side tangent about how crazy the world is with a great one. Even though I didn't read the article, I saw Tim had the headline before. Tim pulled the video today. Did anybody know why? I went into the after show and Malcolm Flex was still there, but he didn't. All Tim said was things get hot sometimes. I didn't see enough. I didn't know why it got pulled. If you know, put it in the chat. I'm curious. New Mexico governor suspends First Amendment. This is a satire. American governor suspends First Amendment to silence criticism over suspending Second Amendment. And that's how crazy. And what would have stopped her from doing that? She could have done that. She could have said, I suspended the Second Amendment because of a public health crisis, and you're criticizing it, so I have to suspend the First Amendment because of a public health crisis. That's the argument for war. Isn't that the argument for suspending speech during war? It's the same thing. The world is so crazy. The world is not saying that even though there is evidence to impeach Biden, it's not a bipartisan endeavor. Not even close. So that matters. It's a political process, and it takes a lot of political capital to get done, impeachment. And if you don't have anything close, you don't even have all the Republicans on board. You don't even have all the votes right now. I know there's evidence, 10% for the big guy. We've seen it in the phone records, the emails. There's all evidence. Got a letter from Hunter when he listed Joe Biden as his business partner. There's a lot there. I want to do a video to lay out the evidence. But there's more than that to impeach him. Now, I know that's not what they're looking in now. You have to choose your lane. But I just want to make sure before I rattle off why I'm against impeachment, I'm still going to go on into more about why I'm not for it. The red sermon speech will go down in history as one of the ugliest ever. Joe Biden could have been impeached just for this speech. If we lived in, I just told you how crazy the world is. If we lived in a sane world, he could have been impeached over this.
We must be honest with each other and with ourselves. Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. Now, I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican, not even the majority of Republicans are MAGA Republicans. Not every Republican.
So he's isolating. He's saying like the corporate, like, Mitt, you're good. You're in the wise wing. He's narrowing it down to you and I. I'm not even a Republican, but that's who they're talking about. Demonizing fellow citizens from the President of the United States.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin. And your refusal has cost all of us.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin.
Talking about my patience is wearing thin. Who the fuck you talking to? As long as your patience don't get as thin as that hairline, I think we'll be all right. I am not your child. And I'm sure enough ain't your bitch. You're talking about your patience is wearing thin. These people have law. They acting like they, you know what I'm saying? Like they paying your bills and dicking you down. You got to watch you. I saw that little clip. I said, "Oh, he's crazy. He really think I'm his hoe." My patience is wearing thin. I need you to get out on that boulevard and bring me my money. You ain't my pimp, nigga. The hell is wrong with these people? He really said that shit out of his mouth. But our patience is wearing thin. You bald head. See, I'm trying. I thank God. See, that's Danny calling me right now. Trying.
And that wasn't even from our YouTube. Somebody clipped it up. He could have been impeached just for that. We know factually he was completely off base with that speech now. Have you heard anybody, like, is there a correction? If it's a YouTuber gets the S wrong on the end of a word or something like that, it's like, oh my God, it's misinformation. And then the YouTuber might get on the channel and apologize, like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Have you heard anything about that? Nah, we just let it fly like it never even happened. He could have got impeached for the red sermon. He could have got impeached for that. There's a lot of things he could have gotten impeached for. They actually like there's nothing out here that he could have gotten impeached for. There's the same amount of probably backing to get impeached for these things as it is for his racketeering scheme. And back in 2022, this is June of 2022, I was saying I don't want any impeachment. Somebody, I think, replied to me, said, what should he be impeached for? So I said, Joe Biden has shown repeated disregard for the First Amendment. We know even more now than we did in June with Missouri versus Biden. The government does not have a right. I don't know why I have to tell people this. The government does not have a right to police speech. And this is Jen Psaki again. This is when she was actually working for Biden. It's on the record. This right here is impeachable.
I think this was a question asked before. There's about 12 people who are producing 65% of anti-vaccine misinformation on social media platforms. All of them remain active on Facebook.
That's not illegal.
I think this was a question asked before. There's about 12 people who are producing 65% of anti-vaccine misinformation on social media platforms. All of them remain active on Facebook, despite some even being banned on other platforms, including Facebook, ones that Facebook owns. Third, it's important to take faster action against harmful posts. As you all know,
you realize this is the definition of fascism, right?
Information travels quite quickly on social media platforms. Sometimes it's
in the sane world, there would have been articles of impeachment right after this speech. Would have been drawn up, written up, signed, sealed, and delivered. Get the hell up out of here.
not accurate. And Facebook needs to move more quickly to remove harmful, violative posts. Posts that will be within their policies for removal often remain up for days. That's too long. The information spreads too quickly. So a couple of...
Not only did they tell them they had to remove it, they said the time frame is, they're removing it, but the time frame's too long.
The steps that we have, that could be constructive for the public health of the country are providing for Facebook or other platforms to measure and publicly share the impact of misinformation on their platform and the audience it's reaching. Also with the public, with all of you, to create robust enforcement strategies that bridge their properties and provide transparency about rules. You shouldn't be banned from one platform and not others for providing misinformation out there. Taking faster action against harmful posts with these social media.
It's 3 different incidents.
Platforms and those engagements typically happen through members of our senior staff, but also members of our COVID-19 team. Given, as Dr. Murthy conveyed, this is a big issue of misinformation, specifically on the pandemic. In terms of actions, Alex, that we have taken.
We know for a fact the information that they said was true at this point was a lie. The stuff that would have banned you from YouTube, maybe still will ban you from YouTube. Head over to Rumble. Let me give you the link because I'm not taking down my lives. If you look at Charlie Kirk, I don't know if he has them back up. The last I saw a few days ago, he took down all his lives because what they do is even after you're done live, you might say, oh, well, your stuff didn't get taken down. They can take it down a year. They can go back years. They can go back to anything you did. Even Tim Pool took down his live today. They could still give him a strike if they want to. They probably won't because he took it down, but they could if they wanted to. So you got to get over to a Rumble where Cyan's over there, and Cyan's saying, if we lived in a sane world, Biden would have been disqualified due to mental health issues. Great boy, Biden wouldn't even have been eligible. There would have been some type of normal cutie test, I don't know, or something. But here's the Rumble link. Just sub up there because this won't last long.
Or we're working to take, I should say, from the federal government. We've increased disinformation research and tracking within the Surgeon General's office. We're flagging problematic posts for Facebook that spread disinformation. We're working with doctors and medical professionals to connect to connected medical experts who are popular with their audiences with accurate information and boost trusted content. So we're helping get trusted content out there. We also created the COVID Community Corps to get factual information into the hands of local messengers. And we're also investing, as you all have seen, in the president's, the vice president's, and Dr. Fauci's time in meeting with...
Wow. They just out in the open, it's right there. That's all impeachable. Remember the Disinformation Governance Board? It was focused on domestic dissent. My goodness. That was impeachable. Definitely could have researched it. Kamala Harris launched a new national this was back in the day. Kamala Harris launched a task force. I did do one video on this. I don't know. It didn't go anywhere, I don't think. But this is back in June of 2022. Launched a new task force on preventing online harassment and abuse. Impeachable. Not legal. I didn't even mention Afghanistan, the poor withdrawal out of poor planning, confusion, that Afghanistan was impeachable. So you see, there's a lot. That's not even it. Can rattle off even more. So I understand that from a standpoint of impeachment, there's a lot of legit stuff there, but not to me in this format. Impeachment is not a criminal process. So a lot of people, I don't know, people were saying, hey, we got to see justice and accountability. Impeachment is not a criminal process. Impeachment is a political process. So if you're looking at doing impeachment, it has to make political sense, not criminal sense. It's not the judicial branch. And play out the chess here. It doesn't make any sense on any level. Why do you think Fetterbot, of all people, Fetterbot was out there acting a fool? This damn cretin, this damn thing. This thing isn't, I don't know what species this animal is.
I ask you about this news that Speaker McCarthy has formally launched an impeachment or has said he's going to.
Oh my God, really? Oh my gosh, it's devastating. Ooh, don't do it. Please don't do it. Oh no.
Sorry, we gotta run back to the office, but
This bitch ass nigga, this motherfucker can't count to 10.
I ask you about this news that Speaker McCarthy has formally launched an impeachment or has said he's going to.
Oh my God, really? Oh my gosh, it's devastating. Ooh, don't do it. Please don't do it.
This is what happens when you let mentally deranged people into the Senate.
Or has said he's going to.
Oh my God, really? Oh my gosh,
When he did that, I didn't know what was going to happen. He's not well.
He's going to.
Oh my God, really? Oh my gosh, it's devastating.
Like if you're going to make a funny joke like that, I don't know what, it just didn't come off right. It just didn't land the way I think he wanted it to land. I know what he means. It just didn't land.
He's going to.
Oh my God, really? Oh my gosh, it's devastating.
Look at his staffer or whatever, like, oh no, here that nigga go again. Oh no, it's my fault. Now he's like, everybody back at HQ is gonna blame me for him doing his dumb bit again.
He launched an impeachment or has.
Look at him, he's like, let's get out of here. He's like, Fett, let's go, Fett.
Said he's going to.
Oh my God, really?
They need to put a leash and a muzzle on that nigga, like you could walk him around like a pit bull or something. Like that dude, I don't know, I don't trust him. He's not all there. He doesn't have all his marbles there. And the staffer knows that. That's why the staffer's looking at him like, wait, we might need to get up out of here. Like he's like, okay, come on, Fett. It's a little too dramatic. He's selling it a little too hard.
Oh my gosh, it's devastating.
He's like, oh, here he goes again. Like this happens all the time. Just like Mitch McConnell, like he just times out, your laptop's about 10 years old and it's at that time when you're like, every 10 minutes it just craps out. You can see the reaction, like they all know, like this is what they do all the time.
Ooh, don't.
Okay, when he did that, he was like, okay, we gotta go. He's like, okay, that's enough. He looked like he about 20 years old. This staffer was like, okay, we gotta get out of here. He was letting it go. He was like, okay, we got it. Kind of funny. It's gonna go viral. Okay. And then watch when he goes, ooh. As soon as he does that, this staffer's like, come on, nigga, we gotta get out of here. You acting a fool right now. You embarrassing. You go out with your boys, he'd be like, don't embarrass me. I go out with my family, whatever. Tell my you don't be embarrassed. Don't do that. Not in public.
Devastating. Ooh, don't do it.
Okay.
Please don't do it. Oh no.
Sorry, we gotta run back to the office.
Yeah, we gotta go. But why do you think he was really like that? It was actually appropriate. He's like, ooh, they don't even have the votes. Let's go through the political chess. One possibility for this impeachment is they go through the impeachment and they don't even have the votes to get impeachment. How embarrassing would that be? And that is a real possibility. They only got, 4 people? It only takes 4 people. They need a simple majority. I think it's only going to take 4 Republicans to swap. There will be no Democrats voting for it. We'll take 4. Unless, I mean, it's possible because I think they are ready to get rid of Biden. I almost feel like there was that person, that leftist country dude who was saying, you know, MAGA was like they're going to unlive themselves when it was Trump or death. And he was like, oh, no, MAGA, don't unlive yourself, like, you know, sarcastically. And the Democrats and the corporate media, I think, actually, they're like, oh, no, don't remove Joe Biden from office. No. That's what Fetterman was doing. That's what that was really about. That's why that was so based. Joe Biden is dumber than Fetterman. He can't campaign. He can't speak 2 words without messing up. They give him cue cards. They give him directions. They give him a place to stand. He never knows where to stand. He never knows where to go after. So they're like, MAGA, oh no, don't impeach Joe Biden.
Oh my God, really? Oh my gosh, it's devastating.
Yeah, they're laughing at you. That's what that means. Fetterman's like, the guy's dumber than me. Oh no, don't impeach the guy that nobody likes and he allegedly took a shower with his daughter inappropriately and has a racketeering scheme and he's outlived his usefulness and he's about to croak it any second. Oh no, don't, MAGA, don't impeach him.
Oh my gosh, it's devastating. Ooh, don't do it. Please don't.
Ooh, don't impeach him. The guy who last time he ran for president couldn't get 5 people to come to a rally. Oh no, MAGA, don't impeach him. Whatever you do.
Don't do it. Please.
Don't do it. I'm so scared.
No.
What's the political strategy here? You should be giving him his vitamins, making sure he takes his blood pressure medicine, make sure he's on his CPAC machine at night. You want him to live through to challenge in the election this year. You don't want to get him out of there. You're going up against biggest scrub. You say the election's rigged. Election's rigged no matter who. Gavin Newsom, Big Mike, Mayor Peter Buttigieg. That's irrelevant because it's rigged no matter what. So I would rather go up against the senile dude that doesn't know where he is than the other ones. Anyway. But one possibility is you vote, and how bad does that look on MAGA if they don't even have the votes? They don't have the votes now, or they would have put it up for vote. There was no need to do all this. Remember when Trump was impeached the second time? They didn't do none of this. They're like, vote. They went straight to the vote. I don't even think they had an inquiry. They were like, boom, vote. And he was good. They still couldn't do it fast enough, but they were like, we got to get this going. They don't have the votes. Not right now. Or they would have done it. How embarrassing would that option be? Let's look at the other options. So that one's a fail. That option's a fail. If you do the inquiry and you don't go to vote or you don't have a vote, yikes. It doesn't get out of, I believe it has to go through the House Judiciary Committee first. If you don't get out of there, I think it will get out of there. But that's a risk. What if they vote to impeach and then the Senate says no? You've used political capital to accomplish what end? And that's the most likely scenario. You vote. I don't even know if that's the most likely. I think it's about 50-50 if they have the votes. But say you got the votes. I think they'll be able to use political. What I mean by use political capital is make these deals and stuff. Basically not money. Well, sometimes it is money. But political like favors and quid pro quos. So I think you can go into the well, get your quid pro quos, get enough votes for an official impeachment. What do you want from me now? A cookie? So he goes to the Senate. They have the trial. He's not impeached. Still looks bad on MAGA. You got impeachment on the record. Wow. Does anybody care about that anymore? The president got arrested 4 times. It was one impeachment on Biden and doesn't even register. Trump got impeached twice. J6 committee arrested 4 times, going for a 5th. What's the purpose? And the rest is criminal. Like, that's real hard time. They're trying to get him locked up. If he doesn't get pardons or whatever, they got him on, I don't know, how many, 100, 500 years or something? He's going to get something. All of them, I believe, in Democrat hellholes. Let's say they do remove him from office. Now what? Oh no, whatever shall we do? You removed the guy we wanted to remove. Thank you. Your revenge has allowed you to make very stupid decisions. You can't play a game of chess thinking, oh, I want revenge. I want to get revenge against the chess player. You're going to make bad moves. And that's where MAGA finds themselves. MAGA finds themselves in a position where none of the chess moves line up to make sense. Even if you're successful, it makes no sense. I think the stronger play would be to have done what they did, bring out the evidence, and then make a big deal about this. We are a populist movement. We believe populism, define it for people. My definition is the belief that power should be in the hands of as many people as possible. We know there's not votes to impeach. We think he should be impeached. We're not going to impeach him. We're going to give you the information, and we trust the American people to make the right decision. That would have been orders of magnitude more powerful and save that political capital for what matters is funding the government. So that's where I go back to Matt Gaetz. This is the speech I started with, and I am very unhappy with Matt Gaetz right now. Because this is muddled. This is a muddled message right here. You need AOC was right in her response. It's too muddled.
On this very floor in January, the whole world witnessed a historic contest for House Speaker. I rise today to serve notice. Mr. Speaker, you are out of compliance with the agreement that allowed you to assume this role. The path forward for the House of Representatives is to either bring you into immediate total compliance or remove you pursuant to a motion to vacate the chair. We have had no vote on term limits or on balanced budgets as the agreement demanded and required. There's been no full release of the January 6 tapes as you promised. There has been insufficient accountability for the Biden crime family, and instead of cutting spending to raise the debt limit, you relied on budgetary gimmicks and rescissions so that you ultimately ended up serving as the valet to underwrite Biden's debt and advance his spending agenda. Mr. Speaker, you boasted in January that we would use the power of the subpoena and the power of the purse. But here we are, 8 months later, and we haven't even sent the first subpoena to Hunter Biden. That's how you know that the rushed and somewhat rattled performance you just saw from the Speaker isn't real. At this point, during Democrat control over the House of Representatives, they had already brought in Don Jr. 3 times. And we haven't even sent the first subpoena to Hunter Biden. Power of the subpoena and power of the purse. Only thing the 118th Congress is known for at this point is electing Kevin McCarthy Speaker and underwriting Biden's debt. And unfortunately, there's only one of those things we can remediate at this time. Power of the purse.
And the problem I have there is, yes, he reneged on the deal, but right now the big deadline is September 30th. And that's where all the political power should be. You use a lot of political power, especially when you only have a small majority in the House. The political power that you're using to get impeachment, potentially even the vote, for what end? How does impeaching Biden help anybody? It only helps people looking for revenge. So even if you say you're looking for retribution, it doesn't happen through that. That's not retribution can only happen through the court system. For me, retribution is justice. Justice doesn't happen in D.C. They play politics. This is the deadline. The U.S. government operates on a fiscal year that begins October 1st and ends September 30th. So we're on September 14th now. It just turned September 14th. You've got about 2 weeks for that deadline. All your political power should be focused on that. So if Matt Gaetz would have got up and said, Speaker McCarthy, we're going to move to vacate the chair. You didn't live up to the agreement. But what we need right now, let me be crystal clear and focused. What I need right now from you is I need to see Jack Smith defunded. You can't get everything. You can hold out and hold up the government and all that. I want to be realistic. Focus on something. And I think you could do Ukraine, but to me, the Jack Smith stuff, somehow you use, I don't have all the answers, you use political power, your power of the purse to say, I ain't funding Jack Smith. Now, they can get the money from potentially from other places, but I'm just telling you an example. Focus on Jack Smith. Why aren't we focused on Jack Smith? Defund him. Defund the new headquarters the FBI wants or whatever. But I think Jack Smith is the right message. Unconstitutional attack on Donald Trump. We are paying for this. Why are we paying for this? I don't know. Maybe there's a better one than that. You could even do immigration. I think the First Amendment is more important. And I think that going after Jack Smith is a First Amendment play because it's not just Trump. I think it represents the Michigan 16 who are being hemmed up in court in Michigan. It represents the Fulton County 19 that are being hemmed up. It represents the J6ers who are being held up. Defund all that persecution. You don't even need to name Trump. And that's where the political power should go. When you use your political power on impeachment, you don't have it. This is like a video game. You're using your power up on the wrong thing. You go through a video game, you save your power up for the boss or whatever you want. You're not, what are we using the power up for impeaching Biden? You haven't sold me on what that matters. Other than, I don't even know. It's almost like, they censored Adam Schiff. Okay. What how does that improve anything? Congress must pass and the president must sign a series of appropriations bills that allocate funds to various federal agencies and programs. If they fail to do so by the deadline, non-essential government operations may come to a halt. And my argument is maybe it does need to. I would say if you think what Jack Smith is doing is okay, I want secession. Don't get me wrong, but there's nothing to talk about if I want that. If we're going to be in this system, then I want them to say, I'm fine with the government to be shut down. If you think Jack Smith getting paid, we are funding him. If you think him getting funds, or even if you want to go with the Ukraine war, that would be even more difficult than Jack Smith. Whatever you want to go to that you want to get, and you hone in on that. AOC was absolutely right. The message is too muddled. Pick one thing and get it done. And it's not impeachment. Who cares? Why would you want to impeach this dude that is a senile old fool and replace him with like Gavin Newsom, who's much younger, much more, aware, politically savvy? Why would you want to do that? And we'll have the same rigging in corporation behind them. While the process of funding the government should be straightforward, it often becomes a political battleground. Parties use this time to push their agendas. That's what it needs to be done. And the agenda they're choosing is impeachment. That is a big mistake. Sometimes at the expense of the nation's well-being. That's just an opinion. I did not hone in on this one. I wrote this, this is through ChatGPT, but not finalized or anything. Because you got to go in. I don't like that wording there. So I go in and tell it, hey, I don't like that wording, rewrite it, then I'll upload it on middlemaga.com in the blog section. Both the House and Senate have proposed their versions of the budget. However, disagreements persist, particularly around defense spending and domestic priorities. Sticking points. Some of the major sticking points of contention include funding for health care, infrastructure, and education. There's also debate over how to address the national debt, which has been a long-standing issue. What about the Federal Reserve? Reining that whole thing in. You can't do all of those. Those are huge things to tackle. Pick one. Potential outcomes. If an agreement isn't reached, this is what they don't have time to reach an agreement. There's no time. If they reach an agreement, that's going to be, I'm going to be full-blown calling out people. But they're not. They're going to do this CR. This is what they do, because it almost feels like the government gets funded like at the end of the year or the beginning of the next year, because they always do these CRs. Continuing resolution, that's the most likely outcome. Partial government shutdown might occur. Full government shutdown. Matt Gaetz should have got up there and said, you know how we held up that speaker vote? That's going to be the government in 2 weeks if Jack Smith doesn't get defunded. How much better of a message would that would have been? You remember the speaker vote? Man, those were fun lives. I was doing those in the morning, the daytime. Didn't have a job at that point, but I was full, had energy, didn't sound, well, I don't think I sounded sleepy, but sometimes I sound sleepy outside at night, but especially at night. Didn't have to do coffee at night, had my normal coffee in the morning, did those lives. That was fun. But the speaker vote happened, the holding up the speaker vote, and they could say, we doing that again. You know what? We're going to hold up the speaker vote and shut down the government. How about that? That's the energy we need now. Not this stuff. Talia Mafia says, yo, they just want the info. Jaira says, I wouldn't shed a tear if the CIA, DOJ, FBI was dissolved before I wake up. If you want to do that, these are the moments where you try to chip away from it. For some reason, we even had MAGA people like Marjorie Taylor Greene vote to increase the debt limit in the summer. Remember that battle? They are I don't roll with Marjorie Taylor Greene like that anymore. And Matt Gaetz is getting there too. I need to get you, you need to be focused, and you sure as hell shouldn't be on impeachment. What I think they're doing is, we got to see that's the thing with the not pushing Trump to do something he doesn't want to do. Matt Gaetz needs to be pushed to do something he doesn't want to do. You want to do impeachment? No, we want you to do something else. Why? Because we want you to do something else. That's why. You have to do that in order to figure out who's real, who's not real. And if you don't do that with Trump, you don't do that with Matt Gaetz, these people are aspirational. I'm including that Matt Gaetz. Lauren Boebert, all of them. Maybe they're the MAGA core or whatever, but Gosar, these are the most self-serving, douchebag, self-aspirational, sleazebag people on the planet in D.C. And if you let them get away with stuff, they'll get away with it. If you let Marjorie Taylor Greene get all these donations from the nation and she doesn't have to stay based, she'll go ahead and be a ladder climber, just in a different area. You've got to hold them accountable. Otherwise, we have stuff like this going on. I wouldn't shed a tear if the 3-letter agencies were dissolved. Ain't going to happen if we don't make MAGA get off of that impeachment. I'd rather hear him say, if you can't do Ukraine, if you can't do First Amendment, if you can't do Jack Smith, I don't know how you can't do Jack Smith. You got to go after the Jack Smith stuff with this. Or you could say this. I mean, this is a political process. There's a reason why the House has power of the purse. You could say, we shut down the government unless Jack Smith drops the charges. That's legal. The House could do that. They could say that. And there's nothing wrong with them saying that. They could say, we ain't voting, the government's done. So I'm looking at this, man, and we got, Ray, I gotta talk to Ray. We got some tough feedback from that live we did about everybody's a controlled op. And as time goes on, I'm seeing more evidence that Ray was right than he was wrong. Does it look like MAGA's not controlled op? What does that look like to you? What is Matt Gaetz talking about? Impeachment? We got other things to worry about. that sounds like controlled op stuff to me. I'm not saying Matt Gaetz is controlled op, but I'm just saying that as time goes on, Ray looks more right and more right. I am not happy with Matt Gaetz right now. That should be the number one issue, is getting Jack Smith up out of there or whatever. It should be political blackmail. Drop the charges. Government shut down. Why can't you do that? Tell me why you can't do that. Somebody in the chat, tell me why you can't do that. They're playing too many games. And MAGA is not on board. MAGA is looking for revenge. Let me get. You're not looking at the right chess move. The three-letter agencies are the largest threat to the American people since we became a country. Base Gyrus. There was this post. I think this is old. I don't know what date this is from. I don't get caught up in stuff. I don't care. Let me show this. It's unbelievable madness. This is right here. This thing. You won't believe what this thing said if you haven't heard this. I'm just going to play the clip and be quiet, and then I'll be able to rant after it.
Russia hates the truth that their obsessive focus on a Ukrainian volunteer is simply allowing the light of the Ukrainian nation's honesty to shine brightly. Next week, the teeth of the Russian devils will gnash ever harder, and their rabid mouths will foam in uncontrollable frenzy.
Okay. I'm trying, y'all. It's only 40 seconds. I'm really trying to hold myself. Again, the Rumble link is in the description. Let me just say that.
Russia hates the truth that their obsessive focus on a Ukrainian volunteer is simply allowing the light of the Ukrainian nation's honesty to shine brightly. Next week, the teeth of the Russian devils will gnash ever harder, and their rabid mouths will foam in uncontrollable frenzy as the world will see a favorite Kremlin propagandist pay for their crimes. And this puppet of Putin is only the first. Russia's war criminal propagandists will all be hunted down, and justice will be served as we in Ukraine are led on this mission by faith in God, liberty, and complete liberation.
Okay.
Russia
so this is a Ukrainian propagandist, and I want to break down what this thing is saying. So, starts out, Russia hates the truth that their obsessive focus on a Ukrainian volunteer is simply allowing the light of Ukrainians' national honesty to shine brightly. Next week, the teeth of the Russian devils will gnash ever harder, and their rabid mouths will foam uncontrollable frenzy as the world will see a favorite Kremlin propagandist pay for their crimes. So that's all stuff that kind of happened in the past is what I think this thing is referencing. This is the part that I get heated about. The whole thing I get heated about, but this part here. So they talk about this Kremlin propagandist will pay for their crimes. And then it says, and this puppet of Putin is only the first Russia's war criminal propagandists will all be hunted down. Let's bring this back.
Frenzy as the world will see a favorite Kremlin propagandist pay for their crimes. And this puppet of Putin is only the first. Russia's war criminal propagandists will all be hunted down, and justice will be served as we in Ukraine are led on this mission by faith in God.
So they will be hunted down
for their crimes. And this puppet of Putin is only the first. Russia's war criminal propagandists will all be hunted down, and justice will be served as we in Ukraine are led on this mission by faith in God, liberty, and complete liberation.
Bitch, is that a threat? Did you hear what that thing said? So my reply on that was, they have a unlived list unofficially. People deny it and all that. I seen it. It looks problematic. It looks problematic to say the least. This Ukrainian unlived list. You know who's on it? Jimmy Dore and Jackson Hinkle. Is that a threat? Are they threatening them? Is that what that is?
And propagandists pay for their crimes. And this puppet of Putin is only the first. Russia's war criminal propagandists will all be hunted down, and justice will be served as we in Ukraine are led.
You realize they're talking about the First Amendment, right? And there's no Democrat, no corporate Republican, not a one in this country that has said anything about this.
Crimes. And this puppet of Putin is only the first. Russia's war criminal propagandists will all be hunted down, and justice will be served as we in Ukraine are led on this mission by faith in God, liberty, and complete liberation.
Man, F Ukraine. The hell? Y'all are taking this way too far. This has gone on way too far. A man disguising himself as a woman and who has proven himself to be an American traitor audaciously labels law-abiding Americans, because just generally labeling anybody, as Russian propagandists. You do not have the power to call me anything of the sort, sir. Worse, he threatens to hunt them down. How? Using American tax dollars. And corporate GOP and Dem politicians expect me to support that. They expect us to support this travesty. That's what that is. If you don't understand why I don't mess with identity politics after seeing something like that, I don't know what to say. They're hiding behind the identity of a man, in a Halloween costume as a woman. Why? Because if you criticize it, now they can go on top of it and say you're transphobic. They're hiding behind that identity. The black identity is not good enough anymore. Well, it's good enough for some things. There was an ad, Apple, I guess. Did Apple have a big thing? I didn't see the whole Apple event. I just saw this clip. So I guess there's a new iPhone out. So usually they have a big event. I'm so out of the loop. I used to watch those whole things. I used to watch the Google one, the Apple one. I don't even care. And Tim Cook released this on X, 20.8 million views. You want to talk about identity? You just see stuff, man, and you don't even know. When I said in October of 2022 that the Democrat, if you're just listening on the podcast, I forget the name of the actress, but it's the standard. You see it? You see it? It just fit everything. More evidence for everything I've been saying. You know, I go very hard at the black woman identity, and it pretty much proves, for me it proves, but at the very least it's evidence of what I say about the black woman identity. What do? They use it. They're very smart. They use the black woman identity to get across anything that they want. They play this game, and I have it here, where the Democrat Party boils down to weird white people and the black women who they pretend to let have dominance over them. That's Tim Cook. That's what the Democrat Party comes down to. And you see it right there in the video. There's more evidence. I talked about Stacey Abrams. Remember, she went over to Nigeria. It's the same thing. So they used the fat black woman identity. She's Mother Nature. Everybody's kind of like, oh, basically, kind of like saying she's God in a way. But she was playing Mother Nature there, and everybody had to bow down. They were just pretending, of course. Nobody's looking at that person with respect. It's all of Tim Cook is, I'm the one. I'm just going to play this role in this little acting movie for climate change or whatever. And remember the Nigerian elections? I'm looking at it like Nigeria, Stacey Abrams in Nigeria for what?
Ms. Abrams, thank you for being with us. Let me ask you first, what are you seeing thus far at the different polling stations you have visited here in Abuja?
I would say that despite a slow start with the BVAS, we have seen orderly lines, we have seen long lines signaling strong enthusiasm, but we've also seen a great deal of cooperation and a very peaceful conversation among voters. They want to be heard, and they are willing to stand in line and have patience because they know that's their path to progress.
It's interesting you say that, because one of the things that I have observed the past few days, this huge contingent of youth voters that many believe will really play a significant role in this election. And the people that we've been speaking with have said they believe there will be high turnout today. You, of course, are well known in the United States for your activism, for being a political figure, an author, somebody who has done so much to try to expand voting rights. From the conversations that you have had, especially with youthful voters here in Nigeria, what is the takeaway?
Well, I've had a chance to speak with Yaga and with a number of youth voters across the state, and what they've said.
It's the same power play as in America. It's unbelievable to watch them do it in Nigeria, and this was my take on Stacey Abrams. There's just summing up on my take on Stacey Abrams. She's the perfect black woman Democrat. She's single. We've never seen her with any male companionship. That's how they like their women now. No man involved. Male companionship is so 2015. She hates black males unless they do what they're told by her black Democrat masters. And obviously the black women are the voices of the black Democrat masters. So she hates black males. She has no male companionship. We've never seen her with the male. She does whatever the Democrats tell her to do. She carries herself like she's non-binary. I mean, if you cover up her body, I wouldn't know if she was a man or a woman. She's obedient. And if they tell her to go over to Nigeria to go meddle over in another process, she'll be like, what? When's the flight? That I forgot the name of the actress. I hate that. But that black, she's pretty famous. I recognize her. What she represented there was not Mother Nature. She represented the Democratic Party machine. That includes Republicans. The machine is through the Democrats. And that's what she represented in that ad with Tim Cook. There were some reactions to it. People were like, how is it possible to have an ad with that many people and none of them be attractive? And it's not even it's funny because it's true. And that's not by accident. The probability of that happening by accident are very low. Nothing about that was accident. Nothing about the color of the people in there, the angle of the people that they showed in that ad was accident. So that's basically Apple on record, used to say on wax as a hip hop fan, on wax, bowing down to the fake mascot of the corporate machine, which is a black woman. And that's the same identity politics. You wonder why you have a man dressed as a woman now who was born in the United States, to my knowledge. That thing was born in Nevada, went over to Ukraine and is now the spokesperson for the Ukrainian propagandist, basically threatening everyone they call a Russian propagandist, but including Americans with American taxpayer dollars. How does that happen? The identity. You couldn't get a black woman to do that. Would be a little awkward with the way that Ukrainians kind of roll. I did that. I did that short on the Ukrainians and how they roll. They all know how the Ukrainians roll. This is common in Ukraine. So that's why it had to be a trans woman, because
it's not uncommon for you.
This is how it rolled. This is how they roll.
I know people
in Ukraine.
It's not uncommon for Ukrainians, the same Ukraine that we were celebrating on 60 Minutes, and we want to send all this money to, all the black identitarians, all the black cabal in DC is like fully on board with. Forget about the Yahtzees and all that kind of stuff. Just from this standpoint, it's not uncommon for Ukrainians to refer to African Americans as N-word. Volunteers of color may be called a monkey, or see children's game with blackface. This is the country you're supporting. This is the culture you support. You put a Ukrainian flag out. A lot of y'all probably never even had an American flag in your bio before. You're probably triggered by it. Nothing like supporting a country that would look at you as N-word and a monkey. Y'all supporting some crazy stuff, man.
Y'all silly, man. That's why he couldn't. So you couldn't have, they probably would want a black woman to be the voice of that Ukrainian military army, or whatever she's the voice of over there. But no, that wouldn't work. So you got a white man, but you can't have a white man. Just like when you look at MSNBC, you pretty much, for the most part, you're seeing gay black men. And then the white men kind of dwindling, not seeing as many new white male faces. So once these guys retire, it'll be probably gay, white, or black men. But the black women are the top of the totem pole, dude. Joy Reid doesn't really get treated like that, but you know what I mean. You can't do that with the Ukraine, so you can't do a white man, so you just have the white man put on the dress. And then people are afraid to criticize it. I don't give a damn. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what your clothing is. I don't give a damn. It's about substance. I'm going to leave out on, I resurfaced a video, an interview with the homie C3P Meme, one of my favorite discussions. And I resurfaced it, flashback, put it back on X, on the X app, just because his Trump and Son is just still blowing up. And I'm like, I talked to the dude who made the Trump and Son, one of my favorite discussions I've ever had on this channel. At the end of it, he told me, I forgot what he told me about Trump. He told me something like breaking news about Trump. I got to listen to that again. But I'm going to leave out with this, y'all. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I'm about to be outie one. And we're live. Everybody. Osiris Middle MAGA, formerly known as Stuck in the Middle. Still friendly to Stuck in the Middle, got an exclusive interview. I am really happy, really proud, and really grateful to have what I would consider a legendary memer. When you get your meme played on the stage by Don Dada, you have reached, in my opinion, legendary status. C3P Meme, how are you feeling? What's good?
Oh, hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I'm new to the whole meme stuff, and I'm learning how powerful it is. So you're new to it also?
So July of 21 is when I first started. So fairly new, but not doing too bad.
Man, you're doing great for that, because I started my channel in 2020. So you're even a year younger, and it shows the power of memes. You've got millions of views, millions of hits on these memes. Now, I didn't even know, is it right to call these video clips memes?
So I've gotten a lot of backlash on that at times. I personally think a meme is video, picture, it doesn't matter. Some people think of a meme as only a picture with some words, you know. I don't buy into that. I think a meme is anything that you can do to get your point across.
I think so too. And why even haggle over semantics like that? Let's start this off while people are getting in. When I say that he's a meme maker, he's made one of the most viral, it's eye-catching, it's almost like nostalgic and so appropriate. The famous Trump and Son memes. I haven't even seen this one yet. Let's play this one real quick and then talk about how you got into it and all that stuff. Let's look at this. Is straight off his site All the links are in the description. Please support. This one is called Preserve. Trump and Son.
Bing, bong, bong, bing, bing. I didn't come here to be insulted.
Tell me where you go and I'll follow you there. What you doing here anyway?
I just came over to bring some of my homemade preserves.
Don't get it up there too close to your face because we don't want to preserve that.
Shout out to the legendary
All celebrities
Red
are
Fox.
controlled.
So
Yes,
how did you get into
talking
that?
about
Let me
the
stop. I got the autoplay on. So that was the most recent, correct? Trump and
Correct.
Son meme?
Correct.
So tell me about, so how did you choose that one, the Preserve? How did you find it?
To be honest with you, that's episode 19 now. That show ran, I believe, 6 seasons, and then he had a Sanford spinoff that didn't have Lionel in it for, I think, 2 more, maybe 1.5 to 2 seasons. So it's slim pickings getting stuff now where they're not. He had some early stuff with a neck brace on, makes it hard for me to do the head replacement, things like that, like arm in a sling. I really don't want to mess with that kind of stuff. So it's getting slim pickings, but that one I love the show Sanford and Son. I love Red Fox. Was watching it, and I'd sit and try to get 2 to 3 episodes in every week or so, and every episode's got gold in it. So
Man, those are so, it just brings back, I think it's this perfect setting for these type of memes because it brings back nostalgia to a time where I don't even know how to describe it because I was born in 77 and Sanford and Son ended, I think, around 77.
Correct.
Even as a young person watching the syndicated reruns,
Yep.
it's a show that's non-politically correct, but it was a time where no one really cared like that. Like everybody could get a laugh out of whether it was All in the Family or Sanford and Son or the Jeffersons. So did you do that purposely to tie those two together, or did it just happen?
I did. I was born in 73, so I'm very close to that. And I didn't watch it live, but watched the syndicated reruns at home when I was sick or whatever, when I could during office school or during the summer. I think today, if that played, I don't think it would be on the air. It would be definitely a cable TV show, not a broadcast live TV show. But I did see a lot of similarities to the way Trump treats people and kind of the way that Red Fox did. He hated everybody equally. He didn't care. So yeah, once I saw that, the very first episode that I did, which is before I even thought it was going to be a series, I just saw the clip and knew it was gold.
Now, was that first one, the first one that I saw, it was so perfect. Was that the wino and a rhino?
Correct, yeah.
Let's look at that real quick. It was so perfect. This is the first meme of Trump and Son that launched the whole series. And we're going to talk about, this is not a simple thing. This is a labor of love. If you're just joining, we've got C3P meme on. He's had a meme played recently on the stage at a rally by Don Dada himself. Here's the first one that kicked it off.
Just what I needed now. A wino and a rhino.
If you don't follow politics or you don't know,
it's bad, Joe.
There's
terrible, actually.
Sorry, hold on.
Do you know you work for the?
We're gonna get into some of the other memes, so just hold on. But if you don't know, if you don't follow, most people on the channel will know that allegedly former speaker into next year, she'll be former speaker, allegedly wino, and then Mitt Romney is also known as Rhino. So you're watching it, you're like, damn, that's that. It's almost like it was set up for you.
Oh, it was amazing. So a little backstory for this one. In May, I was just driving my tractor around my yard mowing the grass and hit some bumps and ruts and actually detached my retina. I was rushed into surgery the next day or so afterwards, and they fixed it. But due to that, I had to get a gas bubble put in my eye. And I could not look up for more than 5 to 10 minutes an hour. Had to sleep on my stomach, which I'm not a stomach sleeper. It was a nightmare. Don't recommend it to anybody. But in that time, I can't do anything. I can't really walk around the house. I'm stuck looking face down. I made this rig up to where I could have my laptop down and I could actually look and watch stuff. So that's where I just started finding some old TV shows that I wanted to visit for meme material. And Sanford and Son was one of those. So I'm flipping through those videos and this scene comes on, and like my jaw dropped. I backed it up and had to listen to it. Did he really say rhino and wino? Are you kidding me? And there were two characters there. I didn't even have to think of who those people would be. Like instantaneous, had the answer, no questions asked. I actually made that and made everything between May, any meme I released from May till mid-November, I did all that with one eye.
That's crazy. So you're doing the editing and all that with just one good eye, and your other eye's like
no
patched
depth
up?
perception. It's crazy. If you can just imagine, it's back now. I probably got what I would call probably 90% of my full vision back, which I'm so happy and so grateful for. It's a blessing because it could be a lot worse. But yeah, I'm sitting there watching that episode and I could not wait. Like I had my wife go grab my other mouse that I use exclusively for memes because it's got some more buttons on it that I tie in, and I started right away and had it done. I think it was 1 or 2 days.
So you're on the couch, you said, and going through sounds painful, all that.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you in the first place start your channel and get into memes in general?
So memes in general I really didn't follow. I'd seen them. I'd seen everybody's seen the picture memes, right? The video always intrigued me. With the 2020 election, I saw some great memes from like Carpe Dunkdom, Mad Liberals. So I started trying to find where these people post these things because I didn't know anything about Twitter. I was on Facebook maybe, but there wasn't a lot of those guys there due to the censorship. Found Twitter, found some like-minded people that were putting these memes up. And really my main inspiration was, and he's a friend of mine now, Rambo Rants. He's a memer as well. And I saw his total hate for Anthony Fauci and the lockdowns and the vax and all that stuff. That is really what got me started, was his hate for it. And it's funny, like fools come full circle. I started memeing, got noticed by a couple people, got into some chat rooms, and actually got to meet him and I work with him all the time now.
Sunday nights are usually more casual at Mises U. They're usually more of an inspirational speech. We've got a fantastic speaker. I'm really thrilled that he agreed to join us. His name's Clifton Duncan. I've just met him in person today. I know him a little bit from online interactions in the past. He is a classically trained actor and singer. He's appeared off and on Broadway. He actually has a graduate degree from the Graduate School of Acting at NYU. We won't hold that against you tonight, Clifton, but it's a fact nonetheless. I first heard of him through our friend Tom Woods, who had seen the British play, the play that goes wrong, up on Broadway, New York City. And then, of course, this thing called COVID came along and basically wrecked an entire industry. So here to tell us his story and also to spend some time with us is Clifton Duncan. Please welcome him.
Jeff with the stand-up routine. How about that inflation? Opinions are divided on this. Can everyone hear me okay? Oh, great. It costs a lot of money. That's why I got that degree. To speak like this. But opinions are divided on this kind of a thing. But some think that it's a good idea when you're beginning public remarks to start off with a joke to kind of break the ice and ingratiate yourselves to your audience. Now, I don't know how I feel about that, but what I will say is that Joe Biden is the greatest president that we've ever seen. Let's be serious, guys. His strong leadership combined with the razor-sharp mental acuity. It's truly inspirational. Anyway, it's truly an honor and a privilege to be speaking with you all today. But I have to say, I have to be honest with you, my first reaction when I was invited was, wait a minute, but I'm an actor. You know, what on earth could I possibly say to these brilliant young people that would have any sort of value or meaning to them or even sound reasonably intelligent? Fortunately, I was able to reassure myself with another thought, which was, wait a minute, I'm an actor. Nobody expects me to say anything reasonably intelligent at all. So now with your expectations comfortably low, I have a little story to tell. So my name is Clifton Duncan. Hopefully you remember that from just minutes ago. My life makes no sense. I'm an army brat, the son of a single mother. I never knew my father. I grew up in Germany, Virginia, Belgium, and Virginia in that order. And I was actually a very shy and introverted child, if you can believe it. Somewhat of a loner who took a keen interest in solitary activities like drawing and illustration, but who also dabbled in music, poetry, and fiction writing. In my senior year of high school, I dropped out of my French class, much to the chagrin of my teacher, to chase a girl into drama class. Pretty much the reason most straight guys end up doing theater anyway. It's true. There, I discovered an aptitude for performing, and I soon wound up playing a pivotal but supporting role in our school's production of the musical Bye Bye Birdie. Should have been the lead, whatever, it's fine. I'm not bitter at all. Anyway, friends and family alike were astounded that this seemingly shy kid seemingly had no fear of appearing in front of an audience and subsequently stealing the tragically few scenes that he was in. Now, later on, this shy, directionless young man would go on to earn an MFA from New York University's prestigious graduate acting program. It's also very expensive. It's a subsidiary of the Tisch School of the Arts, one of the world's most elite conservatory programs for young actors. It's considered on par with or often superior to America's other elite institutions, those being the Juilliard and the Yale School of Drama. Yale's okay. Just to give you an idea of how competitive this institution is, at that time they would audition 1,000 young hopefuls from around the country, sometimes around the world. And out of that 1,000, they would call back 50. Out of that 50, they ultimately offered spots to 18. Now, many of my classmates had to audition multiple times to get into the program. I got in on my very first try. I graduated in 2009, right in the midst of what was then called the Great Recession. I thought it was kind of mediocre. I didn't enjoy it that much. Over the next decade, I essentially lived out of a suitcase and some boxes, subletting tiny rooms and shoebox apartments all over the wonderfully pristine city of Manhattan, well, island of Manhattan. And I graduated from supporting to lead roles at many of America's top theaters. And eventually, after a bunch of near misses, I finally landed on Broadway in the hit comedy The Play That Goes Wrong, which Tom Woods is very, very, very obsessed with and probably knows far more about the show than I do. And I was in it. So soon thereafter, I found myself working with renowned directors and starring opposite Tony-winning actors and actresses and doing television with guys like Jimmy Smits and personal favorite of mine, Scott Bakula, who was awesome in Quantum Leap. And I was earning praise and effusion from legends such as Joel Grey and the late Stephen Sondheim, and even garnering award recognition for my work. After hearing me sing, there was one actress who quipped to me, incredulous. She goes, "Why on earth are you not famous? Are you an asshole or something?" Maybe, Nancy, maybe. Now, I don't say all of that to brag, I really don't. It may come as a surprise to many of you, but in many ways, I am still that shy boy that I referenced earlier who, though comfortable in the spotlight, I don't like to draw too much attention to myself, oddly enough. I don't actually talk that much about my acting career, I never did. And it's hard to do so without feeling like I'm bragging, and I find bragging highly distasteful. I once had a teacher tell me I could use some more arrogance, as a matter of fact. But the thing is, on a deeper level, I am bringing up these achievements. To do so is actually a source of great pain and resentment for me right now. because it reminds me of a life that I've spent the past 2 years trying desperately to forget. I've been trying to forget it because the contrast between what my life was and what it is now, to be completely candid, often drives me to despair. So now I'm staring down the barrel of 40 years of age. I no longer reside in the city formerly known as New York, a place I called home for a decade and a half. I wait tables for a living, something I hadn't had to do since I was 22 years old. I no longer have a powerful manager sending me auditions for lucrative, high-profile, life-changing projects, and I no longer have the prospect of earning a 5-figure weekly salary, working in TV or on Broadway. And so now the prospect of paying off all those NYU loans, maybe even starting a family, have become even more distant dreams. I'm now shut out of the entertainment industry. I have few marketable skills because I never needed them. The few skills I did work on centered around acting and singing, skills which are highly valued in New York and Los Angeles, but which, as you might imagine, have very little value outside of the arts and entertainment sector. I feel as though I'm starting over, from scratch, and must learn things that most adults my age, many of whom have families and other weighty responsibilities, have mastered. And so you may be asking yourself, well, what the hell happened? Why have I gone from having a billboard with my likeness on it in the middle of Times Square, winning standout notices in the New York Times and guest starring on network television, to where I am now? Well, it's quite simple. I refuse to allow any employer, or by extension the government, to act as my healthcare provider and to dictate what I inject into my body. I refuse to be bullied or coerced or shamed into taking a medical product that I neither want nor need. I've been extraordinarily vocal in my opposition to what I view as grotesque and egregious state overreach into private affairs and personal freedoms. Indeed, even if things were to magically return to normal tomorrow, I'm greatly disturbed by the precedent which has been set, wherein government officials and bureaucrats can take it upon themselves to determine who is essential and who is not, to decide who gets to operate their business and who does not, and in some cases decide who's allowed to travel and who is not. I mean, we're still winning tennis tournaments, so, you know, what are you gonna do about that? Now, part of the mission of the Mises Institute is to promote individual freedom. As an actor, I was trained to be a conduit and a vessel for both the splendor and the tragedy of the human condition. And as such, I'm also a staunch advocate for the freedom of expression and a firm believer in and champion of the irrepressible fire and vitality of the human spirit. As an artist, while I can appreciate form and structure, I also value nonconformity, especially when it challenges an increasingly square and constrictive status quo. And so, although I've paid a price, I'll never regret standing up to and forcefully saying no to a repressive, nonsensical, unethical, and ultimately unnecessary encroachment on our freedoms. I'll always enjoy denouncing short-sighted, inept, or corrupt elites. I don't really call them elites, but for the sake of simplicity, I'll refrain from calling them what I normally do, which is garbage people. Their arrogance has deluded them into thinking their credentials or their position qualify them to dictate to me what is for my own good, as if they know and care for me better than I could know and care for myself. I mean, honestly, I don't want to throw any stones, but does anyone in here look at, I don't know, like Michelle Walensky, and it's just like, now that lady knows what she's talking about. I don't. You know, I'm not going to lecture you on the importance of things like telling the truth and standing for your principles. Sorry, Jeff. That was sort of the agreement. But the fact that all of you are here right now signals to me that you also share those values. I mean, it's not like I have any great insight into economic or social theory. I'm at the beginning of my intellectual journey in that regard. But what I can offer you is a little encouragement and some optimism. Now, it's no great secret that things in the world don't seem to be going so great right now, with forecasts of difficult, austere times ahead, or even worse. Such predictions are rampant. The past 2 years have demonstrated that with the frightening ease with which masses of people can be manipulated, either driven to destructive protests or terrified into compliance with nonsensical and deleterious rules and policies. They've also shown us the dangers in giving a small pseudo-clergy, both elected and unelected, the ability to exercise influence and control over our lives and our livelihoods. Supply chain disruptions, warnings of bad harvests and food shortages and mass starvation, concerns about conflict overseas, worries about what seems to be an ever-deteriorating social and political fabric here in the United States. But I do have some good news. I'm a pot-smoking, pro-choice atheist. That's not the good news, I promise. Don't do drugs. Don't do drugs, guys. Just don't do it. I like battle rap, Broadway, Shakespeare, and Judy Garland. The point is, there's really no reason I feel like I should be here right now, and yet here I am. Given my background, there is very little reason why someone like myself should ever come into contact with someone like Mr. Jeff Deist, and yet I have. In fact, over the past 2 years, I've developed relationships with all kinds of fascinating people from across the socio-political spectrum, across various professions and across the world. And while I mourn the loss of many friends and former colleagues and grieve what at least for now appears to be the end of an exciting and cherished career, I've now found a new venture as I explore this whole content creator and influencer thing. I mean, there's a guy in Germany, a university teacher, who wrote to me, and he told me that he uses my podcast as a part of his syllabus, or syllabi, I think that's the word. And that his students actually ask him if they've seen the latest episodes, which is pretty awesome. I mean, I was born in Germany, so it's pretty cool that somebody out there is showing some love and sharing my stuff with others. And simply put, once I began saying what I really think, my reach quickly exploded far beyond what I'd achieved chasing a career as an actor. And I found new relationships with some truly incredible and interesting people. And so here's the good news. The good news is that we are all seeing and discussing the same problems and issues. Scientists, economists, scholars, writers, journalists, gamers, comic book enthusiasts, truckers, farmers, around the world, people from all walks of life are seeing the same things and rebelling against the same things. And now, while you are just entering the prime of your lives, you're living through a major paradigm shift in which humanity across the globe has awakened to the importance of preserving independence, to the importance of standing up to would-be despotism, the need for robust and lively debate and wide-ranging discussion. I believe that awareness and that desire is growing. Additionally, selfishly speaking, what I've discovered is that there is a massive appetite for beauty and for meaning and transcendence, a thirst for the awe and the wonder that great works of art can generate. And I've discovered that, believe it or not, the people of New York and Los Angeles, in fact, do not have a monopoly on sophistication and culture. More people than ever now have access to and can stake their claim in the vaunted marketplace of ideas that we hear so much about. More people than ever are discovering, with the help of technology, the works of great thinkers like Hayek and Mises, as I have done. More people than ever can and are speaking up against corruption and shining a light on areas that those in power would rather conceal. And we're living at a time where it appears that people are discovering the folly and overly centralized power, and that perhaps those who've anointed themselves as our betters, the garbage people, excuse me, the experts, let's say, are far from infallible, to be diplomatic about it. Despite what the so-called artists in hip, urban, exorbitantly expensive metros might believe, it's people like us who are pushing back against and forging a new status quo. It's people like you who are challenging the regime and helping keep the rest of us honest. And I believe it will be people like you, with your intuition and your innovation, who will ultimately win out over the COVIDians and the critical theorists and the climate catastrophists. It's you who, choosing to color outside of the ideological lines prescribed to you, who are the future. So I suppose, in short, that I wish to impress upon you that the idea that all is not doom and gloom. And I encourage you to push back against the cynicism and the nihilism of the age. You may suffer consequences in the short term, but I'm an example that over time, things kind of tend to work themselves out. You never know what kind of company you'll be keeping. And I must say that as someone who was an actor for over 20 years, I've never been more appreciative and admiring of my audience. So thanks for listening to me run my mouth. End of speech, turn page.
I wish my friends on the populist left were more open to this guy right here that I'm going to mention. This could be one of his greatest moments ever. He's had very passionate speeches. This one, it went viral, it resonated. Stephen K. Bannon.
Now, let me tell you where the hard part gets. The hard part gets, we've had the oligarchs on the Republican Party, the big hedge fund guys making $16 billion a year, Ken Griffin and Mitch McConnell and Rupert Murdoch. They have they have told you that Donald J. Trump is not going to be the president of the United States. Don't fall for the primary stuff. You have good and decent people, Governor DeSantis, Mike Pompeo, Tim Scott, you have Nikki Haley. That's all fine. It's not relevant. We don't have time for on-the-job training for a man that gave us 4 years of peace and prosperity. Show me what Ken Griffin has given us. Show us what Mitch McConnell has given us. Show us what Mitch McConnell has given us. Show us what the Murdochs, a bunch of foreigners, have given us. What have they given this country? Nothing.
Let's go.
Donald J. Trump, let me repeat, in a very volatile time in American history, gave us 4 years of peace and prosperity. And you know why? You know why? He put you in the room to make decisions. Out of the room, out of the deal. And Trump not only put you in the room, he put you at the head of the table.
Bannon going off.
And that's why they hate him. They don't hate him. They don't hate him because he's Trump. They hate him because he represents you. He gives you a voice, and he will not back down.
This is CPAC.
Look at Fox News. Look at Fox News. The president announces his, this is historic. A guy gave you 4 years of peace and prosperity, announced he's going to run again in broad daylight, of which they participate in. They cover it live for 20 minutes, and then they say, if there's anything newsworthy, we'll cut back, and they go to some panel and some discussion. Note to Fox senior management, when Donald J. Trump talks, it's newsworthy.
MAGA's taking over CPAC.
What happened in the first week of January? You had Matt Gaetz and Boebert and the Magnificent Six that stood there and put it all on the line. And what did Fox News do? They rolled out Karl Rove and the hacks from the Bush administration that got us in this mess to say, we need unity. We need unity. We're not looking for unity. We're looking for victory.
Let's go. But that company has the J6 access to the J6 footage. That same company. Let's go. Get hype.
We're not looking for compromise. We're looking to save our country. We are not what they mean by unity is you to give up and you to roll over. This is how you get $32 trillion in debt, going to $52 trillion in debt. This is how you get your kid to die on foreign battlefields in Iraq and Afghanistan. And now that's how you do it, and we're not going to have it anymore. Donald J. Trump is not simply a leader of a political party. He is not a politician. He is a leader of the most powerful political movement in American history.
He's the face of it. Ultra MAGA. That's what you're watching here.
It's Ultra MAGA.
Okay, Murdoch, here's the way it's going to be, brother.
Ooh.
You've disrespected Donald J. Trump long enough. Okay? He goes to East Palestine and gets the Biden administration. It's a global news event, and you don't cover it live. Is there that much happening on Fox News at 2 in the afternoon that you can't cover him live? He hasn't been on Fox News since he announced for presidency. Let me ask you, any guy that brought peace to the world for 4 years until he's let off a bioweapon, right? Wouldn't you think, to have respect for the audience, you would have him back up here to talk about the geopolitical? If you had respect for people, wouldn't you do that?
Not if you want
They
DeSantis.
don't respect you. Read the depositions. The deposition, they have a fear, a loathing, and contempt for you.
Yep.
And you're the ones that can make changes. The shareholders, if you want your share price to stay up, You need to take action. The first thing you need to do is get rid of Paul Ryan as an independent director.
Yeah. Ben is going right after him.
For the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, where will you be?
It depends on who the nominee is. I'll be here if it's somebody not named Trump.
You won't show up if it's not.
Yeah, I'm not interested in participating in that, no.
Even in Wisconsin.
Even Wisconsin.
And DeSantis.
If Paul Ryan's saying if Trump wins, he's not going to go, then you got to get rid of him.
Get out of
The
here.
Murdochs immediately have to start covering President Trump. No special deals. Just cover the man, asking the tough questions. But we need to hear the voice of Donald J. Trump.
And he was being fair. Ask him the tough questions, like what happened during the pandemic, bro.
Hey, and old man Murdoch, while you're at it, why don't you no more softball interviews to the guys running against him, and no more infomercials. Okay, play it straight. You play it straight. Donald Trump's going to win the primary, and Donald Trump's going to win the presidency.
If he doesn't win the primary, then the party
Let me leave
devolves.
you with what Trump is up against. He's not up against DeSantis or Nikki Haley or Mike Pompeo. He's up against Ken Griffin and Mitch McConnell and Murdoch, okay? They have deemed if he wins the primary, they're going to work for the Democrats just like they worked for Hillary Clinton. I was there. I can tell you they were in Clinton's camp the entire way.
Preach.
All they are is about money. And the only people can stop them on the face of the earth are you, and you. MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. Remember, Murdoch, you've deemed Trump's not going to be president. Well, we've deemed that you're not going to have a network because we're going to fight you every step of the way.
And I would like to make just a clarification point. It's ultra MAGA.
If your task and purpose is to take your country back, this country will be saved.
War Room, Stephen Kevin Bannon. Word.
You know, we are addressed as MAGA extremists, extreme MAGA Republicans. And I would like to make just a clarification point. It's ultra MAGA.